Hey guys. Uh, First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for sticking with me. I know that it's been a while since I posted anything, and I just want to let you guys know that um, I really appreciate you, and I really am thankful for you guys for sticking around. And I know that you come here for some content, and if somebody's not delivering some content, then it's just kind of like, why am I following this person? So for the couple hundred that have stuck around, I really appreciate it. Just because you know I'm thankful that you guys are here, and I feel a responsibility to you guys. Just because you stuck it out with me, and you guys are hanging around with me, so I appreciate that. Uh, I don't want this daunting title to, linger. It's gonna get a little bit heavy. Uh, so that's just a heads up. But I just wanted to give you a brief rundown from where I left you to now. Um, at the beginning of this whole COVID thing, I wanted to say something, and I wanted to see where the market was going, and it seemed like everybody was quarantined and um, just kind of doing their own thing and being funny and bored in the house and all that stuff. And I was like, this is pretty cool, captive audience. Like, if anybody's going to put up content, now's the time. I just didn't want to do it just because I felt like it was gimmicky, and it felt like, hey, you don't have anywhere to go, so I'm going to make sure that you have something to watch here. And I was just like, if I don't have anything to say, I'm not going to pretend like I have something to say. Um, and there's a lot of comedic channels out there, and I know that I'm not trying to be one. So I just didn't have anything to say. Right after COVID happened, we had a lot of public displays of rioting and protesting and civil unrest due to the George Floyd incident, the Breonna Taylor incident, um, the incident, and I felt like I needed to say something, and I felt like there were times that, hey, we need to address this. This needs to happen. But anytime that, like, I began to rise to say something, something else would happen, and I wasn't able to address the immediate topic because something else was kind of coming out after that. So if it wasn't Breonna, then it was George Floyd. If it wasn't George Floyd, it was Ahmaud and running through a neighborhood, and it was just kind of one thing after the other, and it was pretty exhausting to try to stay on top of these stories that were changing, and these ideas that were changing, and the attitudes and the hearts and the minds, and it was a lot in a very short period of time. And it was kind of exhausting because as a minority, I didn't know, like, how to feel, and it was a lot of feelings at the same time. And you want to hear all sides of the story, and you want to do your due diligence and your research, and but it felt like once you did your research, something else happened that you had to research. It was kind of like throwing a test on top of another test after you already had the final, and it was just like, there's a lot going on here, and if I tried to get ahead of it, then it was just gonna get away from me. So it kind of just got away from me, and it was just kind of like, hey, long story short, minorities are kind of behind the eight ball on this entire thing. Always have been, probably always will be. There's nothing to cover there. So I just spent a lot of the summer taking drives, playing Call of Duty. I'll probably clip to something to show you my skills because I'm pretty talented.
Solid copy. Bird is inbound for cash collection. Helo is in position for your deposit. Bag set.
And then after all the Call of Duty and stuff, then I had a trip to Alaska, and I did the AK Yoga Fest again, and I hosted that for the 3rd year in a row, and it was fun helping out my friends and just being back home. And I didn't want to break that streak, so then I was just like, look, AK Yoga Fest is happening. I've hosted every year. I'm not gonna let this whole little thing sidetrack me for not hosting and break my streak. So of course I had to go up, and it was just cool to be home, and I wanted to check some stuff out, and I wanted to see this waterfall, and I was able to get some stuff done, so it was cool. Went up to Alaska, and I knew that my license was going to expire on my birthday in August. Yoga Fest happened in July, so I booked a little bit of time in Alaska, renewed my license, just because I like being an Alaskan. And even though I'm living in Oregon and I'm back and forth between Washington and stuff, I just didn't want to be an Oregonian, and I didn't want to be a Washingtonian. I wanted to stay an Alaskan. So I renewed my license. Getting back from AK Yoga Fest, I knew that I wanted to kind of commemorate this year of 2020, and I was like, everybody's gonna watch 2020 as being like a year of unproductivity and a year of like having to stay inside and just a lot of stuff going on. And I was like, you know what? I want to probably take a road trip, and I want to visit the states that I've never seen, and I want to wrap up this summer as being something that I can be proud of, and being like, hey, there's a lot of stuff going down, and in the middle of all that turmoil and chaos, I saw the states that I didn't see. In the continental U.S., I was so close to just being like, look, there's only a handful of states that I've never seen and stepped foot in, and I want that to be like my landmark of 2020, of just like, yeah, continental U.S., every state, I've touched every single one of them. So that was my goal. And once I got back from the Yoga Fest, then I was like, I gotta wait for my license to get here, and I don't see anything standing in my way other than that, because in light of the circumstances, I didn't want to be a minority in the middle of the country driving on a temporary license, or giving law officials any reason to mess with me or to scrutinize me at all. So I was like, look, I'm gonna have all my paperwork, I'm gonna have everything in order, and I'm gonna do this. And that's how I'm gonna wrap up the summer, and then I'll go into hibernation for the winter, and I'll edit and I'll get a lot done, and that will be my productivity, and it'll still just be like, look, it was a bummer kind of a year, but I was able to do stuff and I was able to see stuff. So I waited, and I played more Call of Duty, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I got my license renewed on July 21st, and I went through all of August, the majority of September, and then I was like, hey, where's my license? I know that this was the federal thing, and you said wait 6 to 8 weeks for it to come in the mail, but I have not heard anything, and I'm twiddling my thumbs waiting for this license to even show up. What's going on? And then the DMV is just like, oh yeah, instead of mailing it out to the address that you put, it got held up in Anchorage. So it never got mailed, and we were just waiting. We sent an email, but you didn't put an email down. And I was like, you've been sitting on my license for weeks, and no phone call, no reach out, and you're blaming me because I didn't write my email address down on a DMV form? Well, they weren't blaming me, but I still took it as that way. So they were like, yeah, we just had it sitting here for a while. And I was like, listen, I need you to mail that out to me pronto, because I have things to do, and I've been waiting for this license. In the midst of my license being mailed to me, my registration expired. So then I had to renew my registration online, and then I had to wait for that to get mailed to me, just because, again, I did not want to be caught with any scrutiny, with any probable cause to just like, hey, your license is expired, your registration's out of date, you're missing your tags. And it was just like, look, I want to have everything on the up and up if I'm going to do this cross-country road trip. So let's get the ball rolling. So, end of September, I got my license. End of September, renewed the registration, got it mailed out. Beginning of October, I'm like, let's go. I'm ready to go. I've been ready to go for so long. I packed up my car. I packed up fancy. Okay, keep doing that. And we got on the road, and we started seeing a whole bunch of stuff and started doing a whole bunch of stuff, and just checked in with people that I haven't checked in for years, and stopped in Boise, stopped in Montana. I saw my friend in Minnesota. I haven't seen my friend Bob Bell in a super, super long time, since he left Alaska to take care of his grandfather. So it was really good to see him, and he's been a close family friend for a really long time. From Minnesota, I headed over to Detroit, saw my boy Jason. And then from Detroit, I headed over to New York / New Jersey. Saw some friends there. My cousin lives in northern New York, so it was cool to check in with my cousin. And I was like, look, this is kind of like the handful of my states that I need to get crossed off here. Nobody ever has an accidental reason to be in the northeast of the United States. There's no layover in Pennsylvania. You never have a layover in Maine or Connecticut or New Hampshire or Boston. You're never gonna accidentally pass through these places, like, unless you're like going there. If you're doing a cross country, like a transatlantic flight, New York is probably gonna be a stopover for you, but it's like these places are so far off the beaten path that it's just like you have to have a mission to go here. So as I'm driving, I'm just like, look, I need to cross these states off my list. I'm letting family know that I'm kind of like inbound and I'm on my way and crossing through these states. And it's just kind of like this, it just felt good to be like, look, I got the Camry, I got the dog, we're cruising and checking out the places we've never seen before, and 2020 is going to be this somber year, but it's going to be like, hey, we were able to accomplish some goals, and we were able to keep moving forward. So like that's the progress and the legacy that I wanted to continue. So we kept that momentum up, and stopped into Wisconsin on the way. Never seen Wisconsin. Had some cheese curds in there, and yeah, not to backtrack from New York over there, but yeah. So then from New York, headed up to, never seen Boston, never seen Maine. There's this lighthouse I wanted to check out in Maine. So it was just like, okay, let's keep road tripping this. And yeah, so I mean, steady she goes. Okay, so as I'm driving, I'm just cruising through like all these states. So my mom hit me up she hit me up because she hasn't hit me up in a long time. I haven't hit her up in a long time because I was planning this trip. I'm just like, look, I gotta get my license renewed. I gotta get my my registration in the mail. I gotta get packed. I gotta get going. I'm trying to see these states before they get frozen over, and it's the middle of October, and like that window, that mission that I set out to accomplish is passed, and the window's closed. So I'm like, look, if I'm able to like see the leaves change as I'm driving, that's making good time. So I want to, hey, thank you. So I wanted to see the fall leaves change as I'm going across the country, and I was like getting through September, I was like, I'm gonna miss it. But I was so focused on everything else that, I check in with people when I could check in. I didn't feel like I need to like worry about certain people just because I'm like, look, let's do this. And if I can check in with you during my road trip, then I will check in with you. And I even gave some friends like a heads up where it's like, hey, I'm going to be in your neck of the woods soon. You got time for lunch? You got time for saying hi or anything? So I started plotting this out. It was just like a lot of planning. So as I'm driving, my mom calls me and she's like, where have you been? And I was like, hey, good to hear from you. I've just been driving. She's like, you've been driving for 5 days and you haven't had a chance to call me? And I was like, yeah, I've been driving for 5 days. She's like, where? To Seattle? Because I do a lot of driving to like Seattle. And she's like, I'm like, no, not Seattle. Where am I? I'm in Chicago. She's like, Chicago? I'm like, yeah, I'm in Chicago. Just cruising right now. Mom, the vice presidential debate's on right now, so I'm going to call you back after Kamala Harris does some stuff over here. So I call her, and I watch the debate, and then I call her back. I'm like, hey, sorry, that debate ran a little bit long, but I'm back now. She's like, where are... I'm like, oh, I'm in Detroit now. And she, Detroit? That's in my backyard. I'm like, Mom, I know. I'm just doing this road trip and I'm cruising and, play your cards right. And I might come down there to Memphis and say hi to you. So that was on a Thursday on the 10th. Yeah, on the 10th. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to stop into Detroit, say hi to my friend, I'm going to keep cruising. And I was like, don't tell anybody that I'm like coming down, because once you start giving people a heads up that how far are you? When are you going to be here? And I was just like, I'm doing a lackadaisical cross-country drive. I'm stopping where I want to stop. I'm seeing who I want to see. And I will be there when I get there. And this is 2,500 miles, so just give me a minute. So I talked to her on Thursday, and I stop in with my friend Jason, chill in Detroit, head over to New York, and see my cousin and see everybody. And then I'm like, okay, well, I need to go up, because New York is cool, but there's still like all these states above New York, where it's like, when are you gonna ever accidentally pass through New Hampshire or Connecticut or Vermont or Maine? Like, what are you doing over there? So I got the car. Let's head up there. So I head over to Boston. That was some cool country. Connecticut was a cool drive. I'm seeing like all these like pretty cool sites that I'm just like, this is historic, because once you get into like 13 original colonies, like you ride that down the coast and you're like, this is cool. Like I was like, I wonder if George Washington looked at this tree or something. So it was pretty surreal to be in some old territory that you're like, this is historic stuff. Head to Boston. I look up diners, drive-ins, and dives, and they have this like lobster ravioli that I check out from this place called like Reno's Place. And then I go in there, and I was like, your menu online didn't say anything, so let me just get... It said like what you had, but it didn't have like a price next to it, so I'm guessing it's just going to be like, $20 pasta or something. So I was like, yeah, I saw this on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Give me 2 lobster raviolis. Give me 1 chicken marsala. So I ordered that over the phone, and then I go in there while I'm talking to my boy Jason from Detroit, and I order that, and then I like show up to pick it up, and they're like, yeah, so that'll be $107. It's like, are you kidding me? For 2 pastas and some chicken? Did you say $107? And I was on the phone with Jason, and he was like, did they say $107? I was like, yeah. As I'm handing her my card, I was like, Yeah, I was actually gonna suggest that I pay $107, but I wasn't. I was hungry, so I wasn't trying to like. I wasn't trying to be like. Actually, I didn't know it was gonna be that much. Take one of those off there. I was more in the mindset like when in Rome. I guess I'm gonna eat pasta for a couple days. So I paid for it, and I was like, Boston is super congested and super like overcast and muggy, and it was nice, but it was still just like chaos and like old country chaos of like, hey, your restaurant's located on this island that's been populated for hundreds of years, and this island hasn't expanded, but the population has, so it feels very crowded here. I don't want to spend the night in Boston. So I knew that Maine was like 6 hours away, and this lighthouse. I want to see a lighthouse. I've never seen a lighthouse, like active lighthouse. So I was like, I'm not spending the night in Boston. I'm going to Maine. So I start driving out of Boston, and I start going to Maine. So I'm driving out of Boston, and I hit New Hampshire, and I had stopped at a store in like I'd stopped at a store in like Montana, and I picked up some apple cider. So in New Hampshire, I broke out some of that apple cider and got the hot water in there and put it in my Yeti mug, and I'm cruising out of New Hampshire. And as I'm cruising out of New Hampshire, I get a Facebook comment from my cousin, and she says, "You need to call me." And this is a cousin that I don't talk to very often, but she's like, "You need to call me." And this is a cousin from Memphis, and I'm just like, I know this is not good because it's like midnight and just this random Facebook comment. So I'm just like, okay, I have no idea, but let's see. So I look her up on my phone and I text her, "Hey, what's going on?" "You need to call me." Okay. So I call her. "Hey, I'm here. What's up?" "Hey, I don't know how to tell you this, but your mom passed away tonight. So that's like me coming in New Hampshire." And I'm just like, okay. Do we know anything? What happened? Was like, what are the circumstances of this? My cousin says she doesn't know, and yeah, she doesn't. Nobody knows. It just happened. So I'm like, okay, thank you for telling me, and then I hang up the phone. And I'm still driving, and it's the middle of the night, and I don't know how to feel on the road, and I'm like thousands of miles from not I'm like 1,700 miles away from Memphis. So I'm just like driving, and I'm just like, okay, this is, I have no idea how to feel. And then I get really overwhelmed, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to help, because it's such an imminent call that it's like, it's not like your mom has been sent to the hospital or something, there was an accident or something and you need to get here as soon as possible or something. It's just like, no, your mom is gone. And yeah, so it was a lot to take in, because I just talked to her on Thursday, and this was Saturday, and I just didn't understand. Um, so yeah, I'm driving in New Hampshire, and I just continue my course because what else is there to do? Like, I mean, if there was some kind of like hospital visit or something, then it was like, yeah, then I'd definitely do a U-turn and do whatever I needed to do, and yeah, I'd drive through the night and all this stuff. But if you call me and you tell me that she's gone, my my heart was just broken. Like, it was just, there's just a lot of feeling that goes into that, knowing that the person that brought you into this world was isn't there anymore. So I kept driving, and then, you know, all these feelings start coming out, and I keep driving, and I get these tears falling down my face, and I don't want to wipe them away, just because, like, I know there's going to be more. So I just keep driving, and yeah, I don't know what else to do. So I'm going 45 through these little New Hampshire places, and I like, not set the cruise, but I know, like, this medium pace of these small sleepy towns that nobody's really awake in, and I'm just like, okay, keep the pace. And then I get pulled over, and I still, like, I'm still, like, I can't feel anything, so it's just like, okay, this is happening. Brand new license, brand new registration. This guy pulls me over. Hey, just stopping you because you're going 45. It's not 45 until until you get past the city. It's 35. So you're just going a little bit too fast, license registration. And I'm just so far out of it that I just can't, okay, here you go. And, like, tears still streaming down my face. And I'm not even going to try to, like, tell my literal sob story or anything. Just, like, do what you gotta do. Let's do this. Like, okay, I don't know what you want me to do, so I'm just gonna sit here. The Alaska registration, the Alaska license, he's got to call, like, out of state and pull up my record and see that I don't have any warrants and stuff, so I'm just, like, sitting there. Okay. And he runs the plate, it's clean, tries running the license, and, like, this whole thing takes like 5 minutes, but it's all, like, complete silence. Just because I'm still crying and he's, like, on his radio and calling things in. So he runs my license, and then he's like, radio silence on the other end. And then he's like, you know what, Michael, I'm not even going to wait for this to come back. Just slow down and drive safe. So I take it, I keep driving, and yeah, I keep driving to Maine. Just because I'm already there. Like, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what the action plan is, and I'm just crushed. And yeah, so I don't know what you do with that, because it felt so, I was like, I just talked to her, this doesn't make any sense, and not like I don't know what to do, but, like, when you lose a parent, you lose a parent that you're close to, you lose a lot of direction, and you lose that guidance and that kind of, that grounding, yeah, like that constant. So that really hurt, knowing that no matter how fast I drove, or when I eventually got to Memphis, that I wouldn't be able to see her. I wake up in Maine, and at this point, like, I really don't care about anything. Just because I think I realized in, like, somewhere after Minnesota, I was just like, yeah, all this stuff's pretty cool, but if it's just me here to enjoy it, then it's just kind of meh. Like, you don't go to Vegas and do Vegas all by yourself, you go with a group of friends. So then when I'm taking this road trip, then I'm just like, man, this is really cool. But, like, there's no reason for me to, like, linger in cities and check things out, because it's just like, yeah, you've seen one museum, you've seen them all, or anything like that. So I'm just like, by the time I wake up in Maine and I still, like, remember this news, then it's just like, okay, yeah, I saw a lighthouse, cool. Snapped a couple photos, it was raining, and that's my memory of Maine. And then as I'm in Maine, I'm like, well, I'm already up here, and Vermont is right there. So before I head south, let me cut over to Vermont, and then I'll head south. Because again, there's not too much that's going to change between whenever I leave the Northeast and then I get to Memphis. So I start this drive south, and I start this drive in general. Go to Vermont. Once I get to Vermont, like, my biological brother that I haven't seen for over 20 years, like, reaches out and tells me, like, I have a place to stay when I get down to Memphis, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty wild because I haven't talked to him, and my mom was trying to get us all together while she was alive, and then, like, so to hear nothing from him, and then to hear, hey, you have a place to stay, like, the day after she's already passed. And I'm like, we were trying to get together 3 years ago, and the first time I'm hearing from him is the day after she's gone. So I'm like, as I'm driving, I'm just like, this just keeps stacking up of just like, what is going on? Like, this was just supposed to be a simple road trip. I was supposed to wrap up the summer, and now, like, you're just, all these layers are just getting stacked on top of me. But I feel the gravity of everything too, because not so much like I based my whole life around my mom or something, but it felt like there was a lot of like, this is my mom, this is someone that's super important to me, and she's been a part of my journey of healing and forgiveness, and so to have that not there anymore is really impactful. I was just like, I don't know. So I have all these feelings of like, as I'm driving, where can I stop? What can I see? You know, make the most of your circumstances, live life to the fullest. All those cliche sayings, they start coming to mind, and I stop in Philadelphia and I check out Philadelphia, and I stop and I see family and I visit with family, and the more that this visiting is going on, the less that I have to deal with these actual circumstances where it's like, if I don't show up to Memphis, then maybe the news isn't real. So if I just prolong going to Memphis, then it won't be real. And then I have these obscure thoughts as I'm driving, like, has anyone actually seen the body? How do we know this is true? Just because, you know, if there's a chance that she's still around, then I want her to be around. So I visit with my grandparents outside of Virginia, and then I stop and see friends in South Carolina, and then I stop and see friends in Florence, Alabama, and then I make it to Memphis. So this is where I've been for the last 2 weeks. I wanted to record stuff sooner, but it was just, it didn't feel like it was necessary. It didn't feel like I got a lot on the plate right now. So I'm in Memphis now, and planning my mom's funeral. And I didn't think that these would be the circumstances of my awesome road trip to wrap up 2020. But this is where I'm at. And I've seen family and connected with family and seen people that I've never met. And it's been pretty cool. But the circumstances surrounding it has just been that kind of weird cloud that's like, yeah, this would have been cool had it not been for these circumstances. So I'm in Memphis, and I'm planning my mom's funeral, and we're gonna have the viewing tomorrow, and we'll have the service on Sunday, and we're gonna bury her on Monday, because the cemetery doesn't usually bury on Sunday. And then I asked them if they would, and then they said yes, but then the funeral home was gonna be like, we're gonna push your time back. So the time got pushed back from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And then the cemetery was like, well, what's the window gonna be, because we don't know what time that the grave digger needs to be ready. And if it's after 5, then it's gonna cost extra. And then I was just like, you know what? We really didn't want to drag this out over 3 days of a viewing, the service, the burial, and we would have rather wrapped it up, everything on Sunday. But if there's going to be all this back and forth of like, can we or can't we, and how soon will you be here, and all this stuff of like, we're rushing to get through the service because we don't know if we're going to miss the gravedigger's window, and we don't want to pay overtime. And I was just like, you know what? Push it to Monday, and we'll bury her on Monday, and we don't have to, have anybody staring at the clock and wondering, like, are we going to make it, are we going to make it? And it's just those kind of weird things to take into consideration, where you're just like, you don't bury on Sundays? Or you don't bury on a certain time on Sundays, or whatever. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing. I still need to cut together some footage of my mom and do a tribute. And there's just been a lot going on. So I just wanted to update you guys on where I was at and what was going on and my mindset. I really appreciate the support, and I really appreciate the encouragement that I've been getting, and we got the programs. We got the programs printed off today. So these are looking pretty good. Shout out to my friend Teal Rogers for helping me out in a pinch. I had packed up all my equipment and like my big computer for editing and stuff, because I was gonna come down here and I was gonna record all this stuff with my mom, and I was going to like, Mom, teach me how to make this, and then it was gonna be filmed, because it it's cool to have the recipe card from stuff that your mom used to make, but then like just to be like, okay, what do we do with this chicken? Okay, well, drop that in the oil now. Drop it in the oil now. Like, to have that on video, I thought was going to be pretty cool. So it's a different experience when I come down here, and I'm not using that equipment with her, and I'm not seeing her, and I'm writing this program. So I'll wrap up this Memphis thing, and then I'll probably just head home. Once I stop in St. Louis, Missouri to check out that really big arch thing, that will be the last state in the continental U.S. And then I've been to all the states except for Hawaii. So you just get me on a plane to Hawaii, and that'll be the entire 50 nifty. Fancy, please. I know. I know. I know. So Fancy and I will go see the St. Louis Arch, and then we'll probably just, head back, and then check out stuff along the way. Fancy. But again, thank you very much for the support. Thank you for everybody that stuck with me this long. It's just been, one of those weird summers, one of those weird times of what do you do? How do you act? I had gone to the beach and I filmed a whole bunch of stuff. I just didn't upload it. So I'll probably upload that stuff soon. And, get back into the swing of things. Get back into that muscle memory. And keep moving forward. And keep making progress. And keep accomplishing the goals that I set out to accomplish. But I really appreciate you guys still being here and sticking around with me. And I wanted to update you on how things were going and where I was at. So this is where I'm at. And